Hi, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to review the film Gotti, which came out in 1996. This is an excellent film. I can't say enough about it. Let's see, really quick here. It was directed by Robert Harmon, written by Steve Shagan, and the music is by Mark Isham. I recognize Mark Isham. He did the music for Point Break. He did a fantastic job here. Robert Harmon, I've never heard of before, but man, does he do a real good job in this film. So I got to look him up. It's based on a book. They turned it into a film. Again, it came out in 1996. If you like Casino, if you like Goodfellas, Donnie Brasco, it's got a Donnie Brasco feel to it. The Sopranos. It's not quite as dramatic as, say, Sopranos or Goodfellas Casino. It feels more Donnie Brasco, if you follow me. A little more down to earth, a little more gritty, for lack of a better word, more authentic and less theatrical. Not that, and I love those. I love Casino and Goodfellas and The Sopranos, but this is just a little more true to life, where those are just a little more pomp and circumstance. If you follow what I'm trying to say at all, because I ain't. I'm gonna just go with the Wikipedia plot because I've tried to explain this like 7 times and I suck at it. The film starts in 1973 in New York and ends in 1992 with Gotti's imprisonment. John Gotti was a big, famous Italian mob boss in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. I think he came to power in 86 with the hit on Paul Castellano, and he was all over Time magazine. Everybody knew who he was. What you need to know about John Gotti? Gotti's association with three mobsters is also highlighted in the film. The father-son like relationship with family underboss. They just call him Mr. Neil. I'm going to go by that. His deep but rocky friendship with Gotti crew member and longtime friend Angelo Ruggiero, who's played by Frank Vincent, who plays Pussy in The Sopranos. He's in this. And the respect and ultimate frustration that he felt for the man who became his underboss, Salvatore Sammy the Bull Gravano, played brilliantly by William Forsythe in this film. The film details Gotti, and Gotti is played by Armand Assanti. It's fantastic in this film, crushes it. Um, let's see. The film details Gotti's rise within the Gambino crime family and his ranks from soldier, then captain or capo, and finally boss. The final title was achieved through dramatic murder and public of Gambino family boss Paul Castellano in 1985. Following the murder of Castellano, the film concentrates on the legal trials of Gotti, one from assault and two for racketeering, yada, yada, yada. He's got to go through a RICO trial. The film ends with his conviction. But it follows, they left that up for some reason, the tragedy of the death of his son, who was like in middle school age, who was killed in a car accident. And then Gotti knew the father and was friends with the guy, or at least acquaintances with the guy. Their sons played on the football team together. And then that guy got taken out. Whether or not Gotti did it or someone did it on his behalf, unclear. So they kept it unclear in the film. His relationship with his wife. Angie, I forget what the guy's real name is, Angelo Ruggiero. They had a brotherly relationship to the point of like, changing each other's diapers. His real life brother was in it, a part of what he was doing, but those guys got into drugs, and the mob has had a rule since 1957: deal and die. So if you're dealing drugs, you get killed because the FBI will come after you harder, and the sentencing on that is much, much worse than, say, racketeering. So a lot of guys flip. So it's very dangerous for the family as a whole. And that puts John Gotti in a squeeze because his brother and his best friend are, breaking the cardinal rule. I go find this guy's name? The another guy from a whole slew of films. He played Uncle Junior in Sopranos, plays the original conciliary to the original mob boss when the film begins. He's in this, and he's constantly telling Gotti, "You gotta dial it down." Gotti flew in the face of tradition in so many ways, which is ironic because the whole film he's like, you got to have parameters. I'm doing a horrible impression. You got to have rules. You got to have parameters. So he's talking to talk, but then he contradicts himself constantly, which is one of the fascinating things about the whole world of the Italian mob. Very family driven, a lot of loyalty until you cost us money, and then we got to pop, pop, pop. So it just fascinating. Um, but he, got John Gotti wear these fancy suits. Every time he went to court, he was mobbed by the press, and it drew unwanted attention onto our thing, and just caused constant consternation for everybody involved. So when John Gotti, there's a Paul Castellano, after the old timer dies, he takes over, leapfrogging the guy everybody's loyal to, Mr. Neal, played brilliantly by Anthony Quinn. I mean, just Armand Assanti plays Gotti. William Forsythe plays Samuel the Bull Gravano. Anthony Quinn plays Mr. Neal. And the whole cast is great, but those two guys are on crushing it. Absolutely crushing it. How this isn't a more regarded film in the Italian mob, John, I have no clue. I never hear anybody talking about it. But it's a fantastic movie. And maybe it's because some ass clown like me is doing this for poor lighting, is the one singing its praises. You need better critics supporting your film, something. I don't know what went wrong here, but this is a fantastic film. Everything about it works. The writing, the directing, the score, and the acting is just phenomenal. It's both, you get all the details you need for the story to move along with no fat whatsoever, and yet it moves along at a clip. Bing, bang, boom. It feels like it's 15 minutes when it's an hour and a half or something. So it's just fantastic. You got to see it. That's all I can tell you is you got to see it. But again, the guy who plays Paulie Walnuts in The Sopranos, he's in this as a smaller character, but a guy you notice, as he tends to be. So there's at least 3-4 guys who end up in Sopranos in this. Everybody's a fantastic job with the acting. I wish I could tell you more, but I would just be getting into the details of what happened. So John Gotti, he starts out as a small timer. He wakes his way up to being the mob boss. And then, like it says, from there it's basically his legal problems. But there's these scenes. There's one scene where they go to do a thing. He's sitting there parked. Some guy pisses him off. He attacks him with a bat and beats the crap out of the guy. And you go, man, this is a violent dude. I'm sweating. And what an asshole. But then in another scene, after his son has passed away, he's sitting there talking to the picture of his son he has on his desk. Very touching stuff. And Armand Asante plays the rage and the temperament perfectly and just sells what we know got John Gotti, but he plays the compassion and the human side of John Gotti. And that can't be easy to do. And while the two guys don't look alike exactly, certain mannerisms, gestures, his hair, they nailed his hair. John Gotti had some crazy, funky hair. There are times where it's like he disappeared into the guy. He became John Gotti. Like, oh shit, did you see that? He just became John Gotti for a minute there. It's really crazy to watch. But Armand Asante nails it. Nails this role. Found this guy perfectly. Again, William Forsythe, he's a great actor because he can play comedic, and like in Raising Arizona, and then he's like scary. He's like legit scary as hell in this role in this film. Who's the other guy? Frank Vincent played Robert DiBernardo in the film. He was in Casino and Goodfellas when he says to Pesci, "Go get your shoe shine box," and then he gets killed. That's that guy. He played Marino in Casino. Man, what's this guy's name? It was Vincent Pastore, who plays Big Pussy in The Sopranos. He's in this. Again, the guy who played Paulie Walnuts. I'm not going to find a name for him on here. But it's just a fantastic cast. Everybody nails it. There's one sequence where they're sitting in a diner. A bunch of guys go out to, a couple guys go take off, go back to Newark or something, and the car explodes. And they're sitting there going, God, there's nothing left of that car. And you have to be there, but they really sell that. You both have the strength and a sense of invincibility that comes with that kind of power. And then in a split second, the vulnerability that two guys just got eviscerated, and there's nothing left. And that could happen to anybody in the crew. And is this going to keep going? Are there going to be more car bombs, or is this an eye for an eye because of the Paul Castellano hit? And then in earlier scene, um, the guy who plays Paulie Walnuts in Sopranos is ordered to take out a guy because he screwed up a hit that brought down heat on John Gotti. And the dude's walking down the street, the guy from Paulie Walnuts, from Sopranos, he hops out of a truck and starts walking down behind him. And then starts chasing the guy and guns him down. And in the forefront, it's a school playground with a bunch of kids playing. And while I doubt that's exactly how that went in reality, you get the idea. When they took the guy out, it was right there in public. Nobody seemed to notice. It was handled quietly, but it's like right there in the street. And then later when Gotti becomes crime boss, everybody's clapping and there's this sense of family and this sense of loyalty. They got rid of the bastard who was screwing us over, and here's a guy who's going to take care of us. And he cares about his son and he cares about his wife, but then they'll kill this guy because he could put Gotti in prison for 20 years right in front of his, the school full of kids. So there's this contradiction of loyalty and family until you're costing us money, and then pop, 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 And then they end up taking out a guy who, again, Gotti considered like a brother to him out of suspicion because he was talking subversive. And then they start doubting that. So it's just like Armand Assanti plays the villain side and the human side of John Gotti so incredibly well. He handles it so effortlessly. It's very much Tony Soprano style. You're supposed to hate this guy. And the sense of public opinion in moral court, there should be nothing redeeming about him. And yet, you feel for the guy, and you respect certain aspects of who he is. And it's all Armand Assanti in the writing and the direction. But then William Forsythe brings the whole thing down, but you can kind of see where he's coming from. But then you hate him. You really end up hating Sammy the Bull Gravano, and he's the only one who's still alive. And you can find him on YouTube today. He sold everybody out to the feds for a very much reduced sentence. He killed a couple dozen people, probably on the low end, and he did maybe 20 years for it. He's out there living a life, a free man, and now he's making money on social media and probably books and everything else. And so there's this, everything that John Gotti did to overthrow Paul and take out Paul Castellano came up to bite him in the ass in the form of Sammy the Bull Gravano, which is exactly like the original. The guy who plays Junior Soprano in The Sopranos plays the original consigliere to the original mob boss. Then he passes away from heart attack, and that guy, Uncle Junior from The Sopranos, tells John Gotti, "You got to tone it down, because out there somewhere is some kid. When he took out Paul Castellano, now thinks it's cool." I'm paraphrasing, of course, and he's going to be coming after you. We live by our rules. And when John Gotti broke the rules, he opened up the door for Sammy the Bull Gravano to almost do the exact same thing. Difference being Sammy got him life in prison instead of gunned down in the streets. So he talks all day and night about you got to have rules, you got to have parameters. And then he breaks all the rules and breaks all the parameters. But he gives this speech while he's sitting in prison at the end of the film, and by God, was it apt. Exactly what he said is going to happen is exactly what we got. We got world crime. You got the Italian mob, as horrifying as they were, kept a lid on a lot of shit. They kept a lot of the smaller street gangs and stuff down. We run things. And when the FBI got rid of the Italian mob, all the scum of the earth were free to play. And instead of having loyalty to the country and rules, La Cosa Nostra, we got rules that we play by. Now there's no rules. And that was 1996. And the world he describes is the world we now live in. It's terrifying. And he was spot on. Whether it's John Gotti himself or the writers, nailed it. This is excellent filmmaking. This is how it should be done. To hell with all the Disney films and the Captain Marvels and all the woke nonsense. This is filmmaking. This is storytelling. This is how it's done. Depth, complexity, moral ambiguity. Why isn't everything this? Because people are dumb. Because people are dumb and they like all these shitty movies that are coming out. Now we're stuck with them. Do I hate my life or do I hate the world I live in? I think I hate the world I live in. But this is awesome. The 90s. We didn't know what we had. So, if you haven't seen the movie Gotti, you need to go see the movie Gotti. Did you see Donnie Brasco? Check that out. Watch that movie. It's very much it's on par. If not in some ways better. They're little apples and oranges, but man, it's just really, 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 really good. If you have a sense of honor, sir, you'll go watch Gotti. Came out in 1996. Armand Assanti, William Forsythe, Frank Vincent. I mean, just everybody. Fantastic filmmaking. So I can't say enough. You need to go see this. And Smarter White Guy Show. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. You know what to do. I'll see you on the next review. Cheers.